great to have you all again. It's the first week of April, and we just came off Easter weekend, and I'm sure you all had a wonderful time with family and also celebrating at your local church, and also really connecting and understanding the real meaning for the season. I had a great time with my family, and I hope and pray that you also did the same. And I hope all is going well for you as well. It's been a while since we posted anything on our podcast, but it's time for us to share some ideas and some thoughts. And today, I want to talk about something very interesting, especially this time of the year when a lot of couples are planning to get married. And in fact, I'm putting together something more extensively. It's probably going to be a workshop for couples getting married to cover a wide variety of topics. And there's a theme that the past couple of months we've seen with talking to couples and reading resources and all of that, that we want to talk a little bit about today. And that the title basically is What is Mine, Yours, and Ours? So think of it this way: as you plan on getting married, what is yours, what is mine, what is ours? That's what I want us to discuss or think about as I go through some few ideas. Usually, I remember years ago, my wife and I, we spoke to a couple who were getting married, and both of them had worked very hard in their single years and had, built their career very well, bought houses, and they were now getting married. And we asked them, you guys have a great problem. What are you going to do with two houses? And they said, we have a plan. We're probably going to sell one or rent the other and move into a new one, or however they put it. But sometimes this simple question becomes a challenge for a lot of couples in terms of what is mine when we get married, what is yours, and what is ours. And I feel it's something that we need to talk about, because you would believe that people getting married are thinking of how they can share, how they can blend their lives together. But some people, based on a wide varieties of things, it could be their past experiences, it could be their upbringing, it could be fear, it could be insecurity, it could be any of those I've mentioned, why they are still keeping their finger on certain things where they cannot let it go, or they can't give up, or they can't fully commit. So if we're talking about this in terms of material things like, houses, property, money, then there's actually something deeper that this couple has to maybe revisit, think about, address before getting married, because it's a symptom of something deeper than just what do we do with this, or what do we share, especially when one person in the relationship has a hold on it and is having difficulty sharing. And I'll get into some details on this. But the first thing I want to talk about here, now, and I must say, the areas where we find this mostly is regarding money. When money issues are involved, there's always this push and pull as to who controls what, who does what. Money is one of them, and the other is directly related to money is a bank account. How do we manage bank accounts? There are various schools of thought, and I'm going to give you mine. The first thing I want to say is that when you're getting married, it's important that both of you talk about where you are in terms of finances. It's important that you share how much you make, how much your spouse-to-be makes. It's important that you talk about debt if you have student debt, consumer debt, and all of that, it's very important that you address all these issues and let it be out there. And also, I will recommend that if you have debt, share with your spouse what you're doing to get out of it or the steps you're taking, or set some goals for yourself that by our wedding, I plan on paying half of it or doing this. Really, let it be very substantial and tangible in terms of the steps you plan on taking. That brings trust and assurance to your spouse. So that's the first. Now, the second thing I want to talk about in terms of money when it comes to what is mine, yours, and ours is bank account. And I think in another post on this podcast we did some time back was on money and marriage, and I strongly encourage that you go and review that. And the site for podcast is www.enjoylifewithyourSpouse.com. We have a wide range of resources there that will be of great help to you. But over the years, 10 plus years, actually quite more than that, we've worked with couples. What we have seen based on experience is that couples should have one joint account where all the money goes into the account. And the idea of money going to the account through direct deposit or however you get paid, and then from that account, all your major bills will come out of that account. If you have a savings account, you could both decide how much goes into the savings account as well. So let's say a couple gets paid, $10,000 a month. You decide that $2,000 will go into our savings account, but the bulk of it, it's going to go into our joint account, which is owned by two of you. And then both of you have individual accounts, which is separate from the joint account, where a portion of your income also goes. And it could be a set amount. It could be $200, it could be $300, whatever you decide as a couple. And the purpose of that is if you want to do something for your spouse, you don't want him or her to know. If you want to do something for yourself, a relative, you want to buy something, it's your money. You can handle it the way you want it. Very, very important. Now, some might ask, why is this even important? Why can't we have separate accounts? And when the bills are due, you bring yours, I bring mine, and we pay. And it's very, very simple. And it's the word trust. We have seen over the years that when there are separate accounts, trust crumbles in a relationship, especially on the part of the woman trusting the husband. And I'm not saying it's a problem. There's reason to why a woman cannot trust. There's good reason, especially if this individual, this man, or in some cases the woman has a spending issue or hasn't been reliable or faithful when it comes to finances. There could be problems, and the transparency helps ensure that each other has the confidence that, we know what our money is doing, we know where it's going, how it's being spent. And this is very, very important. I remember in our last class a few weeks ago at church, I told the class that, look, both of you are going to get married, you sleep on the same bed, you probably take showers together, you eat from the same plate. Why is it so hard that when it comes to having your money together, it's so hard for some people? And I guess that question, the response I got back was a big laughter throughout the whole room, But that's the question I asked myself, that we have to be transparent. We have to be naked and not ashamed, So let's open it up and, open this aspect of our lives too, because if we want to become one and share everything together, this is an area where we need to really make sure that we are joining our resources. Because if we join our resources, there's more that we can do and there's more that we can achieve. So this is a very, very important note, that have a joint account and have separate accounts, and that really helps to know where the bulk of your money goes and how the money is dispersed in terms of paying bills, taking care of your home, family, and all of that. Now, beyond that, the other thing I want to talk about is sacrifice. You know, when it comes to relationship, and a lot of young people sometimes find it hard to wrap their mind around this, but if you're planning on getting married, there's a lot of sacrifice that you have to be ready to sacrifice. Sacrifice doesn't mean that take your paycheck and give it to your spouse. That's not what I'm saying. Sacrifice meaning that we will have to give up our sense of control over certain things, certain ways that we want certain things to go. We might have to let off our foot from the pedal a little bit and not have a tight grip on certain things, and in terms of how we want to see certain things, we want to do certain things. Let me give you a typical example. We've had a countertop dining table for a very long time. In some way, somehow, I'm sure you will all know, I purchased it several years ago. And our children grew up with it. When they were little, it was hard for them to get up on it, but they managed to get up on it. And, they've grown into, young adults now. And that dining table started falling apart. And, so my wife and I started talking about it. And, in our home, we're fairly tall people in our home. So my idea was to get another counter-high dining table. And my wife said, why don't we try a standard height? And I said, well, okay, I'll think about it. So when the time came for us to go shopping for a dining table, I started looking at counter height. And, I'll take a look at some standard height tables. And so I went to a showroom. I was talking to the sales lady over there, and I told her what I was looking for. She said, no, I would recommend that you go with the standard height because it's more comfortable, it's of a more natural sitting position than the counter high. And she told me how his son-in-law had purchased one and returned it. It didn't work out well. And I said, well, maybe there's something to be said about that. So I did my own test. I sat on both, and eventually I went to shop for a dining table with my wife, and I agreed that we have to go with the standard height dining table. Why did I change my mind? Because I listened. Because she also had a view, something she thought could work. And I must agree, after listening and also testing both, I came to the conclusion that the standard height was more comfortable. I could sit there for long. I didn't feel that my legs were hanging, that kind of thing. This is maybe not a very good example, but it makes the point here that sometimes we need to sacrifice our views, and we need to look at, we need to give our spouse the benefit of the doubt. We have to consider their perspective in some of the decisions that we'll make. It does not mean that you are losing or giving up what you want. And that's the next thing I'm going to get into. What does it mean if you're sacrificing, if you are being adaptable? That's another topic we have a podcast on. You can listen to how to be adaptable in your relationship. What does it mean, and where do you draw the balance between sacrificing, cooperating with your spouse, but at the same time having your personality and not feel that you're not having your way or your voice is not being heard? It's a delicate balance, but it can be done. So the first thing, based on the title of this post, is mine. So it's mine, yours, and ours. So mine. So there's a scripture in the Bible, Mark 12:30, that says, love your neighbor as yourself. So this is a good yardstick to use, that if I'm going to sacrifice because I love my wife, who is my neighbor, she's your closest neighbor, then I have to think of things that if I know that it's something that I will do for myself, I will do for my spouse. If I know that It's something I will not do for myself. Or if the tables were turned, would I like my spouse to do that for me? If the answer is yes, then you also have to do it. So there's some kind of sacrifice here that has to go into effect. The next thing is yours. There are certain things. Now, let me go back to mine and say a few other things. When I say mine here, you still have things that belong to you. And one of them that I'll say belong to you is your personality, you as an individual, how you see yourself, your self-image. It belongs to you. You have control over that in terms of how you see yourself, how you think about yourself, the things that you... The things that you believe about yourself. It's all yours. Nobody controls that. It's up to you to continue to see yourself the way God sees you and in the positive light of who you are. So that's one thing that as you look at yours as being what is yours, that is one thing that belongs to you. When it comes to yours, we're going to look at Proverbs 23:7. It says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the way you think about yourself and the way you see yourself is also a part of this. It's also part of this. And also the way you see your spouse also plays into this. So what is mine, what is yours, what belongs to your spouse. So when I use yours here in reference to the scripture I use, I'm talking about how you also see your spouse. So you see, these two things are things that are not tangible in terms of physical things. They are not material things. They are not money. They are not physical things. So when we talk about mine and yours, we're not talking about physical things. We're talking about how we see ourselves, and those things belong to you as you get into your relationship. The way you continue to see yourself belongs to you. The way you take care of yourself belongs to you. The way that you love yourself belongs to you. That is very, very important. We're putting together a resource on how to loving yourself. And it's very important because if we are whole as an individual, if we have a decent love for ourselves, we'll do well in our relationship. And loving yourself is not being egotistical or selfish. Loving yourself is having a healthy image of yourself, knowing that you're special, you're loved, you're cared for, and all of that. Yeah. So ours, what is ours? When we say ours, what are we talking about? When we say ours, we're referring to what brought you together as husband and wife. So there's a scripture, that's Mark 10:8. It says, and the two shall become one. And in here, and it says that so then they are no longer two, but one flesh. And that it goes on to verse 9 to say, therefore, what God has put together, let no man separate. So the oneness that we're talking about here goes beyond, again, material things. It talks about oneness in terms of your visions, your goals, your ideals, your view on relationship and marriage, and it's a process. When you're getting married, nobody expects you to be one. Of course, you've both decided this is the path you want to go on, but it's going to grow, it's going to evolve. Both of you are going to learn more about each other. Both of you are going to grow into each other. And it's important that you make it your life mission to continue to learn about your spouse, school yourself about your spouse, challenge yourself to, the Bible says, live with each other with understanding. If you could, as much as you continue to understand your spouse, it helps both of you to grow together and deepen your intimacy and your relationship as well. So put yourself on this path of making sure that you continue to learn and get to know each other on a deeper and more intimate level. So other things that I'll touch on is mutual respect. That's something that should be both. It should be ours. Mutual respect is very important. Every successful marriage is built on a foundation of mutual respect, commitment, teamwork. Here's how viewing marriage through this lens can help. So let us make sure that we have that mutual respect. You know that this is the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. So I have a healthy respect for what they say, their views, their opinions, what they think is important to you. You don't see it as not important and you have a better view or you are smarter and that kind of thing. No. So think about this very well. The other is mutual respect. Recognize that your partner recognize your partner as an equal with their own thoughts, feelings, and needs. So this is not a power play here. This is not the man being superior over the woman or the woman being smarter than the man. That's not the point here. It's both acknowledging that I have some strengths, my wife has some strengths, and we're bringing both together to, grow our relationship and our home together. Yeah. So mutual respect is very important. Commitment is key as we continue to build our relationship together. So view marriage as a long-term commitment where you're both investing or being invested in it to make things work. So you continually work on things to make it work. Because sometimes we see couples who want the person they're going to be married to be a certain way, can't say this, should think this way, and you'd be quite surprised, but it rather set the path to challenging times if that's how one views relationship and how they plan on embarking on it. So it's very important that we have that mutual respect for each other. And the other one there too is commitment. Commitment is you deciding that I'm going to commit to us building a life together, doing things together that will help grow our relationship, And I think there's probably a post we did on this about the decisions you make if you're in a relationship there. And one of the things I talk about is if you're deciding on things, consider your family. Think of if you're taking a job, think of how this is going to impact my marriage and my children, And I said marriage and children. I didn't say children first because your marriage is first and then your children. And when I say that, I'm not saying neglect your children, but the point I'm trying to say is that put effort and investment in your marriage as you put in your children. Because a lot of people have that the other way around. They spend years investing in their children. They buy them things. They won't do anything for their relationship. They will never go for a marriage workshop. They will never go away together as a couple. They don't go on date nights. And over the years, the children get into their teen years, leave the house, and couples look at each other and they don't know. The passion is gone because all they've been doing is running an organization to raise children. It was no longer marriage, but it started as marriage, So it's important that we have that right. There's a quote I shared with our last class. I say, build your home around your marriage, not around your children, Build your home around your marriage, not around your children. Of course, your children are part of it, part of the marriage, but you have to make sure that your marriage is important and your children know that it is important to you as well. If you let them know it's important, they will treat it as something that is important as well. So have this in mind. So commitment, make some commitments, to your relationship and to each other. And the next one is teamwork, how both of you work together, how you pull your resources to work together, how you put your effort into working together, approach challenges together, your goals, supporting each other through thick and thin. So teamwork is key. When something comes up that, you both have to address, you both sit and say, what can I do? What strengths do I have? What role can I play in this? Maybe it's back to school season where your kids are going to college and you say, well, your wife says, I'm going to get all the shopping done, get them ready, and you, the husband, will say, well, I'm going to drive them to school and, spend a day with them. You come up with ways of doing things and planning things and how you can address things to make it work, And looking out for each other, that's one that I really like a lot. When you say looking out for each other, it's almost like you always think of, what can I do to make things easier for my spouse? You know that your spouse, maybe your wife has a presentation coming up in a week, and you think about it and say, this weekend I'm going to do the grocery, I'll take care of the home and the children. You prepare, rest, and get ready for your presentation next week. That is how you look out for each other. You're proactive. You're thinking of how you can make things easier and better for your spouse, and not just let things roll and fall where they please, So let's be proactive. Let's look out for each other and how we can really help to make each other's life comfortable and better. And by doing this, we'll be able to address the question, what is mine, what is yours and ours? And I'm sure that those of you listening might have other questions that you might have when it comes to this issue. But the underlying factor here is that we are called to sacrifice. Relationships are hard because we have to give of ourselves, and if we learn to give of ourselves and sacrifice, it becomes easier, because it's not all about us. It's about the other person that you've decided to spend the rest of your life with. Thanks for joining us. My name is Akwesi Opong, and I'm so excited that you listen to our resources here on Enjoy Life with your spouse, and I'm sure that you will share this with other people, and you come here to also learn some more. If you have any questions, visit our website. It's www.enjoylifewithyourspouse, and we'll see you again next week.